registered.
They will be registered and you'll know their name when they come to the community.
That might be too late.
Yeah.
Yep,
I understand she can legally say, to be fair, I don't think that's legal.
I can.
Yeah, it has to come through the proper channels.
When are you planning on moving people in?
I got a question here, I'm sorry.
You said February 1.
February 1 will be the first individual.
Why did we get no notification?
I thought you said we have 30 days of notifications. You said there would be 30 days
Have
of
you received
notification.
notification?
You already chose the person.
We're not responsible for doing the notification.
You said you personally interviewed them.
Paperwork and you choose them.
An interview.
Yes?
So are you
We're not
responsible?
responsible for that notification, that is done by, yes.
The sex offender registration unit is aware, and as soon as they are legally, the time gets, they will make the appropriate notifications.
That's correct.
We don't preemptively notify as things get changed. We don't wanna notify a community that level 3 sex offender is here, and then McNeil Island's like, never mind, because then we create hysteria. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the feasibility of the house itself. You have 5 individual men that are housed there, okay, they have a home, but what is their purpose there? They're in a rural area, they have no jobs, they have no job skills. 5 men in a house doing what? Being supervised?
Your
Playing on the internet.
What is their purpose? What is their purpose? And believe me, knowing the topography of the property around, if one runs, you better have a bloodhound,
So
because
these individuals are coming out with treatment providers that they have had for many, 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 many years on McNeil Island. Those treatment.
They're not required to take rehabilitation.
Can I finish? You're asking me about the program and I want to share it with you. So there are a number of certified individuals throughout Washington state who provide treatment to this population. One of them is in our corporate office building downtown Olympia. So one of the things that they'll be doing is engaging in treatment. I beg your pardon.
So they're required to go to treatment while living there.
They have already
No,
been
no.
engaged for 15 years in
No,
treatment.
they haven't.
Yes, they have.
Well, the individuals coming to your home, are they required to go to treatment
They
prior
are
to?
already in treatment. Their treatment teams follow them out into the community.
So if they haven't gone through treatment, they are not.
They are already in treatment. I can assure you
Right,
that
I know, but
every
the
single
ones
one.
that, the ones that are not, like that she's familiar with, they are not eligible to come to.
That's correct. My understanding is, from the little bit of information that I have, is that all of these individuals on McNeil Island are enrolled or engaged in treatment.
But what my understanding is they do not have to, and he is not rehabilitated. He is not in any services.
Perhaps just technically.
Yes, ma'am.
If one of your residents live on your watch, will you shut down?
That's a really good question.
Yeah? Let me guess.
At the end of the day, the accountability.
And what kind of accountability?
Yeah. So,
Create a strict place vision.
let me explain that it wouldn't be that easy. In the event that we wanted to shut down, let's say there were 4 other residents there. Before we could shut down, I'm sure contractually, we would be required to remain open until new homes, if you will, were found for the other residents. So if I were to say Supreme Living would shut down, I can say this much personally, it would be a conversation I would have with our other owners. But it wouldn't be that simple that we would just shut down, because those other 4 individuals would have to be replaced. So it would probably take some time.
But what responsibility or accountability would you take?
I would take full
But
responsibility
meeting
for
what
that.
specifically?
I would do everything
Action, maybe not responsibility.
I would do everything I had to in order to ensure.
Would you bring in more
Like what? Like
chaperones?
we would have to work with the state to find them new placements?
Well, I'm talking about for like the victims, if there happens to be a victim based on the reoffense.
We have a
I started
question.
my career in 1970, working with domestic violence and
And you never
sexual
had
assault
any of them
victims.
reoffend?
I started my career working with domestic violence and sexual assault victims.
How can you
In
turn?
the 1970s,
So is she about to retire?
I was assisting women and children to leave their homes in the middle of the night to get away from abusive relationships.
And you
I
find it
understand
acceptable?
these issues. 20 years ago, I became a certified perpetrator treatment provider because I wanted to make sure that I was treating the other side of these terrible, terrible things. And after a while of listening to the stories of these women, you get hardened, right? And it was okay, I could sort of live through the story of he did this, he did that, or they did this, they did that, and then he strangled the cat, or he drowned the cat, or he did this. I have heard some horrific stories in my career. And I have done nothing in my career but work to advocate on behalf of victims, not only in this
Now
state,
it's time to
but before
advocate
other
for the
states.
criminal?
I don't doubt that. My question though, it was, in all of your history, how many times have you had reoffenders?
0. I have never
In
had
any of your- And
anyone,
how long have you been doing this?
45 years in this business.
No, not in just in the business, but in having these homes where there have been offenders living in these homes.
This is Supreme
This
Living's
is her first
one.
one, because she
In the
could have helped
19
kids instead.
In the 1990s,
That's a little bit of a.
I worked
big
with the
switch,
state
isn't
of Washington to open all of the work release facilities that are in the state, and half of them are now closed again. But I was instrumental in assisting the state in citing those work release facilities and developing programs.
Okay, why are they closed now? And were there any reoffenders?
I think partly because of funding with the state. I don't
And there were
really
never
know.
any reoffenders in any of those?
Not in any of the programs that I had. I have to admit, the one time in my career was when I was Deputy Secretary of the Kansas Department of Corrections. That was the only time, and as the Deputy Secretary, we did have a offender on parole who did reoffend and committed a terrible crime. And as the Deputy Secretary of the Kansas Department of Corrections, I had to stand in front of legislative committees and explain that. And it's very difficult to explain, because again, I don't have a crystal ball and I don't know what people are gonna do. All I know is past behavior can be a good predictor of future behavior, so we have to develop programs that attack those past behaviors to make sure that they don't get repeated. And that's my job as the program director.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Doesn't require you to predict the future. So you made a couple comments in regards to your staff. You said you believe in your staff.
I do.
You said we shouldn't take away their skills. You said a
I
lot of
said
your
you shouldn't minimize their skills.
don't minimize their skills. You said a lot of them are EMTs or
No, I
fire.
said they'd like
They
to be.
want to be.
Oh, wanna be.
They want to be an
So I
EMT.
can tell you, I've been a lieutenant paramedic for many years. I can tell you skills are something you acquire. They're not just there.
Yep.
So my question is, what is the training that they're receiving? Because I can tell you, I'm an EMT, I'm a paramedic. That doesn't mean I know shit about being a security or a chaperone. These aren't kids we're chaperoning. So what do
So
you
let
have
me
in
tell
place
you
for their
what the
training?
onboarding looks like.
Yes.
All right, so we have a 3-day onboarding.
3 days.
Can you allow me, please, to be respectful of me as well? So we have a 3-day onboarding. That onboarding consists of a whole myriad of training that includes discussions around mental illness, includes discussions around personality disorders, which are the drivers of the car to these kinds of crimes. Personality disorders, it includes information about trauma-informed care. It includes information about all the security features of the facility. It includes information
3
about
days.
de-escalation
3 days.
and therapeutic options and training to assist them in how to deal with a crisis in the event that there was to be one. We do the best job in those 3 days that we can to impart information.
Again, 3 days.
Then, in addition to that, that's a lot more training than a lot of agencies give their staff, right?
No.
So, in addition to that, we have to have a section with SCC staff where we talk about the particular individual coming out. We talk about the particular triggers of that individual, if there are any for us to consider. We talk about their mental health issues. We talk about any substance abusing issues that they may have had in the past, which could be a trigger for the future. So with our staff, we go through all of that, and then our staff meets with the individual, which we have not done with this individual yet. It's scheduled for next week. So the staff, the entire staff will meet with the individual, and we will talk with them about the services that we provide, and we will get to meet them and have a discussion with them about what we will provide them and what they feel some of their needs may be in our home.
But
And
no
none of that
prior
protects
mental
that.
health experience, no prior de-escalation experience
In
necessary.
those 3 days, our staff is
No.
trained.
Come the first
Prior
of
to
February,
3 days
training
worth.
starts the 29th of January. And it's cool.
3 days.
Do they
Trust
receive,
her.
do they receive
45
any
years.
training to
I've
protect
had
themselves?
more extensive
Hands-on training? Are they
for-
trained to restrain a person, or if they wanna walk out, do they just let them walk out?
Well, again, that's our training. That's
The
our
assumption is,
Sir, that's really, really unfair.
no, it's
Really
not.
unfair.
You've been treating us poorly all night and treating us like we're idiots.
So I will say this, 3 days is not enough for this scope of work.
3 years.
Speaking as a realtor, we have 90 hours just to get a freaking license from the state, 90 hours. That's over 2 weeks of work. And it's months spread apart. To even get a license to sell real estate. My daughter is working, just started Monday at OSHU for a pediatric specialty clinic. They won't release her to work on her own for 30 days. Because it's a specialty thing with children. 3 days for, that just blows my mind. And my other closing comment, is from me tonight, is I agree, this was so, kudos to even trying to reach out to us, I'll give you that. The last minute 24 hours prior notice is garbage. DOH, or DOC and DSHS should have been here. If these are the steering committees of your decisions, they need to be at this. It's really crappy to throw this out in public when it's been just hearsay for the past year and not have the presence of the drivers of your decisions here as well.
They were aware of this tonight, it was their decision
But
not to
you can't
come.
plan something in less than 24 hours. Hell, we've all stopped. I'm doing deals on the way down here just so I can be here. And that's not respectful. My calendar's booked out 30 days in advance. County has to give a 30-day minimum public hearing announcement. You cannot shove something in people's face. I can't even tell you how many angry folks that I've talked to in the last 3 hours that can't get here because they've already had commitments that they cannot break tonight. I know it's Feb 1, but you better figure out how you get DOC and DSHS.
It's not my job, that's their decision.